held in the hands of God's grace. Ramakrishna said it a little bit differently. He said, the winds of God's grace are always blowing. It is up to us to set our sails, to be open and available to catch it. So this morning when we talk about this fourth agreement, always do your best, it's not to share the whatever out of us. Always do my best, I'm going to have to work so hard, oh my God. No, it means living in alignment with that beauty and goodness in the midst of our joys and our sorrows. To be able to recognize and know that there is always, always, always something more at work. Are you with me on that?
Yes.
Good. That scared me for a minute, So always do your best. Now, Don Miguel Ruiz, he's a little bit goofy on this. He said his first agreement, be impeccable with your word. Make sure the power we have through our voice and our thoughts is always in alignment with truth. Be in alignment. That's the most important agreement. And then we got to the second one. Don't take anything personally. That's just going to beat you down. And that's the most important agreement. And then he got to the third one, which is don't make assumptions. Don't make up stories. Don't do any of this goofy stuff. So he said that's really important too. But when you ask him about always do your best, he says that none of the rest really make any difference if you're not always doing your best. So he said this was his favorite, because doing our best, as I said, is about being in alignment with Spirit. It's not a job of the intellect. Yes, our intellect is important, but doing our best is a heart process. It's about living from your heart. It's about knowing, the intellect is really good. The problem right now in our world, if you think about it, I'm always in awe. Are you about all the new advances in technology and science and all the, just like boom, boom, every single minute or second, I don't know, new things are being created. But the problem that I see is there's a great imbalance between the power of our intellect, which has become the dominant creative force in the world right now, would you agree? And we're not giving our heart, our spiritual power, the same energy and time and accolades that are needed to bring balance into the world. We want balance. I'm not sure man's inhumanity to man is any worse than it's ever been. It's just in our face more. And it's there for us to know we've got to do our healing work. We've got to do our part. We have to do our best. How do we know? Because, I love this. These are words from Deepak Chopra that have stuck in my mind for years and years and years and years. And I say them every day. That God, inspiration, spirit, whatever you want to call that, universal intelligence, unlimited, unconditional love, I don't care what you call it, but that energy, that essence, lives in the space between our thoughts. And if we're thinking too much, or if we can't stop that monkey mind or the continual chatter, 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 we're not being in touch with what is right and good and true for all of us. The continually chattering of our mind is going to keep us in duality. We've created this set of beliefs. Don Miguel calls them our book of law. They're a set of truths, beliefs that we believe are true, a set of beliefs that we believe are true. And then we hire this inner critic. You know who I'm talking about. To keep us in alignment with this book of truths. Now, this book of laws, that are our beliefs that we see as true, even if they're not in alignment with our own true nature. This inner critic is constantly doing what? Criticizing and judging us on everything we think, we say, we do. And you know what? I don't care how hard we try. What is that judge's job is to criticize. We will never, ever, ever be good enough. if we're aligning what our book of law, this set of beliefs that I don't know where we pick some of this stuff up because it's really goofy. It just doesn't make any sense. These things we think are true that keep us separate and apart from each other and with our divine essence, rather than keeping us in tune with being together and holding a greater good. Remember the angels from his dedication that are working to make our lives and the life of this world better, healthier, more beautiful now and always. So, how do we know if we're listening to our heart, to that place where God lives? Because God speaks to us through the heart. It was that mystic Rumi I quote sometimes that says, the heart is the translator between the mystical experience, which we call spirit, God, love, that mystical experience, and our intellect, which likes to put, our intellect likes to put things in right, wrong, good, bad, yes, no, in boxes. And so it creates duality, which we need here on this plane, but we need to have that higher wisdom. So how do we know if we're listening to the heart or not? Well, the heart and God speak in the language of feeling. It's not this, it's the feeling you get. The intellect can talk about God and spirit and unconditional love and talk about it. It's the wisdom, the heart wisdom that feels it and knows it. And I'll tell you what, spirit always speaks in an affirmative language. So if you're hearing that negativity or the criticism, then you're going to know you're plugged into the wrong power. You and I are capable beyond measure. What happens when we live too much from that inner critic? We get these bands of fear that choke us from being an inlet to spirit and wisdom. And our job is to loosen those bands. Can you feel? You know when they get you, because you can feel them. We get tight. We're not living our best at that time. We're living under a fear that constrains us. We've got to loosen them up. So the first thing I think we could do is start knowing some truths. We are not consumers. We consume. We're not here to be consumers. We're not addicts. We're not lazy couch potatoes. We're not destroyers. We're not parts of a machine. I'll tell you what you and I are. And the archaeologists found this out by studying caves in Africa that are at least 130,000 years old, and they found artifacts that were being made by humans that could tell our human story. We are creators. We're here to create. Would you agree with that? We are here to create. We can create, let's see, we could create a fun play afternoon. That's creative, a fun thing to do. We can create and write a beautiful book. Wow, we can create a wonderful project that makes a difference. We can create loving families. We can create good experiences. There's all sorts of ways to be creative, and always doing your best doesn't mean you're always creating something out there. You can create a nice quiet time to replenish and fill your soul. We are creative beings. The point that is so important is that we've got to be creating the right stuff. Thich Nhat Hanh, the beautiful Vietnamese Buddhist monk, says, there are seeds of violence and seeds of peace planted in every person. We have to be very aware of which seeds we are watering and nourishing. Because if we want to live in a world of peace, we better be watering those seeds of peace. That's up to us. So if we want to be this inlet and outlet of spirit, here are the two things I'm going to call us to do. Number one, to be an inlet of spirit. We've got to let God's grace is ever flowing, always, infinitely, eternally flowing. We have to be available to it. Ernest Holmes says, no matter how abundantly the universe pours out its gifts, there must be a bowl of acceptance, a chalice of expectancy, or the gift cannot be given. The gift is not complete. Every mystic and spiritual master tells us the universe is for us, always giving its gifts. Have you heard that before? One person has. Yay! We've heard it before. Yes. Okay, well, Sharon, keep spreading the message, okay? Good. All right. So the universe is for us. It's never against us. Ever. But we must be open to the gifts it's giving. Now, okay, I'm going to give you a hard task. We must learn to accept. Now, everything the universe gives us, we could define as love because it's always for us. So we need to learn to accept the love that's been given, even if it doesn't come packaged exactly the way we want it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't always come the way we want it. And a lot of times it's really painful, this world we live in. It doesn't mean that we're not doing its best. It doesn't mean the best isn't there for us. It's just part of this human experience. Another one of the quotations I just remembered forever and ever because it hit me so deeply was from the 13th century mystic. They were busy in the 13th century, weren't they? My goodness, I wonder if we'll be quoted as much. Anyway, 13th century mystic Mechthild of Magdeburg said, in this life, there are two wines we must drink, the white wine of joy and the red wine of suffering. If we don't drink fully of both, we're not fully living. Well, anything that talks about wine, I'm going to remember, but it's so true. It's so true. We aren't fully living, and to do your best, let me tell you something, to do your best some days when I'm not feeling well or I'm just not in gear, I'm doing my best if I get from the bed to the couch. You know, I'm doing my best on those days. And I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to reject myself. I don't want to do self-abuse. Oh, I'm not. I want to realize I'm doing my best. And other days, it's when we're fully alive and vibrant and giving our best to life. We need to be able to recognize our best will fluctuate, but if we give our best to life, then when we're drinking that red wine of suffering, the hurt and the pain in this world, we can be gentle on ourselves. We can love ourselves no matter what. So that's being the inlet of spirit, and being the inlet to untie ourselves, to be open and available. And the outlet of spirit is our creativity. Because I believe the whole reason that you and I are here on this planet is to co-create with spirit, to let God be God as us. Because it was this beautiful Hafez who said, also another Sufi mystic, all the talents of God are within you. Take a breath on that. All of the talents of God are within you. How could this be otherwise when your soul is derived from God's genes? And he didn't spell it Jeans. Your whole stuff, we're made of God's stuff, and we live small and limited because we think we're supposed to, but we're not doing life any favor if we're not being and manifesting that vibrancy of God. So today, as we, not quite yet, but when we form our prayer wall, we know that the one amazing way to communicate with God, of course we can meditate, we can contemplate, we can do spiritual readings, we can do all that, but prayer. Our teaching is really based on the foundation of the power of prayer, and that's direct alignment with spirit. And what we do and know is when we do prayer, we know that we have 5 steps of prayer that we talk about. The first step, God is all there is, and until you can actually feel that feeling in your body, we keep saying God is all there is, spirit is all there is, the vibrancy of life is all there is, goodness, whatever it is, you keep saying that till you can resonate with it, and then absolutely know that I am one with that. I am one with God. I am one with that. And once we can say that and know that, then we can affirm what we know is true. What we know, we affirm it in a positive way. I know love. I know health. I know abundance. I know joy. I know connection. I know inspiration. I know whatever it is. We know that once we know that this is all there is, we are one. That's the inlet, and the outlet is knowing what you want, and then you release it, trusting that it's done. You trust it, know that it's done. So I'm going to invite you, when we come up here, to do this last call, to be the inlet. We've already been so touched by God's grace through words and music and joy and connection. The inlet, we get to be the outlet by what is it we want to create right now. In order to create and be this creative being that we're designed to be, we have 2 steps to love ourselves. We've got to love ourselves. If we're made in the image and likeness of, we've got to love ourselves. And this is what we heard from another special mystic, but I'm not going to tell you his name. But he came from the 13th century, and his name starts with R. But your love reveals your beauty. Give yourself a kiss. If you want to hold the beautiful one, hold yourself to yourself. When you kiss the beloved, touch your own lips with your fingers. Touch your own lips to your fingers, because God is just as close as that. Love, possibility, creativity, right there. If we're going to really know our oneness with Spirit, we have to love ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And then, what this week is about, always do your best. The intention, the thoughts, the attitude have to be positive and good, but then we've got to go out and do good works. It's not enough to just stay. You can't stay on that couch, even if someday it's the best you can do is to get there. We can't stay there. It's not enough. There's something in each and every one of us that has to get out and do the good works. Do the good works in the world. So I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to think right now in your own beautiful experience in this moment. How high are your sails? How open is your heart and mind to catch God's grace, love's grace, Spirit's grace? It's ever present. How high are those sails? If there's a block for you, maybe a not enoughness or not good enough or something that's keeping you from raising your sails and standing in the light of infinite love and truth and joy, recognize it and know that you can come up to the prayer wall today and just say, I release whatever it is that's holding you back from giving life your best, from doing your best. And if inside of you there's a conflict going on, a conflict with all the conflict we see in this crazy world today, if there are seeds of anger or violence or upset being watered instead of the seeds of love and peace and joy and beauty that reside within all of us, what would it take for you to water the seeds of peace? What would it take? Accept that part of you, how powerful and capable we are, that we are creators, how good it is. Which one are we watering? Think about that. So we can say, I release, I accept. And if you're not feeling any disconnect right now at all, and you just want to keep holding on to the good that's already happening, I want you to come up here and just say, I know perfect health for me. I know unlimited abundance. I know joyful living. I know creative expression, whatever it is. Simply going to invite us as we are closing up these beautiful prayers that are being spoken today. I invite every person to just raise their sails and accept the infinite, abundant good that is ever present. In this moment and every moment, allow yourself to be open to beauty and truth and love, even in the midst of something difficult. We know that right where we are, the power and presence of God's goodness resides right now, in this moment and always. How blessed we are. It is on this day that we choose to feel that we are blessed and a blessing to this beautiful thing we call life. We choose to live fully. We bless each and every person in our life. We bless all the things that are calling to be loved, to be healed, to be accepted and appreciated. How good it is to be alive. We are so thankful for this and every moment. And as we seal this together by saying, and so it is, we release all our prayers out into this world, and we accept our prayers not only for ourselves, but for each and every person, because we can't possibly want something for ourselves that is good and right and true without wanting it for everyone. Please know how much I love and appreciate each and every one of you, how blessed I feel to be a part of your community. It's with great gratitude I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and so it is.